Multiplayer is an aspect of Fire Emblem that I've always felt had a lot of strong potential, but every attempt I've seen always has a massive caveat behind it that makes the mode almost always feel like an afterthought, with the most interesting attempts at it in the main series to me being in Fire Emblem Fates and the DS era games, all of which focused on being PvP modes. The issue I have with PvP is that Fire Emblem's core gameplay tends to be reliant on the player predicting and planning around an enemy AI that can be learned, whereas almost all PvP attempts remove that aspect. While multiplayer can certainly still work without enemy AI, you can definitely tell Intelligent Systems really prefers us to have us play against enemy AI rather than a player, as shown by the multiplayer in Awakening and Engage. To me, that shows a lack of confidence in PvP, which I don't really blame them for. Really, only FE Shadows I think handled multiplayer fairly well overall, but it is a far more railroady experience than I prefer. Shadows does use co-op as part of its multiplayer aspect though, and I've always felt co-op is the most effective way to handle multiplayer in FE, so it really is a shame that our only other decent attempts at this have been split-screen co-op in the Warrior spin-offs. So, because of the fact that co-op feels underutilized to me and I'm hankering for that kind of experience, and I now have friends, I think it's time to finally enact my master plan for my next stream series, Rolling Fates. So what is Rolling Fates? Rolling Fates is a streamed run where me and a small group of people get together and each draft ourselves a roster of Fire Emblem units to determine who gets to use who. In order to give ourselves the most variety, the best game for us to try to start this in is, of course, Fire Emblem Fates Rev. Not only is it a game our group is already pretty familiar with, Rev's incredibly large roster size at 85 makes it more than enough for a healthy pool of characters for people to pick from. But of course, to make this a bit more interesting, I will inject a sprinkle of an idea, and that is that everyone participating will get a modded-in custom unit. Inspired by 094's Fire Emblem Fates homebrew runs, our custom units will be basically OCs, with each one having a unique custom look, custom class, weapons, dialogue in my castle, they'll have voice acting in them, and of course, a couple of custom supports, cause why not? To compensate for the even larger pool of characters we have to choose from, I'll be increasing the deployment slots to ensure that at minimum, the custom units are able to be deployed for every map. To help us figure out which draft units, and how many can deploy alongside the custom units, we will determine that by rolling dice, and in this case, 5 d20s using a score from 5 to 100. The score everyone gets will determine the order people will get their turn to play, and the one with the lowest score will be unable to deploy their drafted units. Of course, to make things fair, if they roll last again in the next chapter, they will be immune to being unable to deploy their drafted units, assuming there are enough slots anyway. Then it'll simply roll to the second or third lowest score, depending on how many slots are available. Players will also roll dice at the start of each of their turns to determine the move stat for their turn. So for each turn, everyone's move stat will vary. Infantry units will have a max move of 10, whereas cavalry and flyers will get a max of 14 move. Any additional movement buffs from things like pair up, movement plus, rally movement, etc., it'll just be simply added to the roll as an additional modifier. To compensate for issues such as terrain tiles, every custom unit will get 99 move internally to avoid any unintentional issues stemming from forest tiles and the like. And of course, to stimulate the Fates Landing economy, every kill a custom or drafted unit gets will gain 200 gold. That is then assigned to their player. Any gold accrued from drops or chests will also add to their total. To keep things fair with support units, singing or using a staff gives 50 gold each, which, with a heal staff or bloom vestal, would total up to about 1,000 gold. Players can only spend the gold that they have personally accumulated, but they can also trade gold between each other with a 20% transaction fee. The total will be rounded down. And, of course, like other tabletop RPGs, every player is expected to keep track of all this data individually. Of course, I like having a bit of fun with viewers, and since this is a streamed run, chat will also be part of the fun, which means you, yes you, and the rest of chat will be assigned one custom unit that you and the chat together will be able to control using chat plays rules. So every time it is chat's turn, we will roll their dice to determine their move stat, then randomly draw a lucky chat member's move and do what is requested, assuming it can be done, of course. With so many people being involved in this, plans and rules can change, especially since this is the first time I am taking on something like this. So, to keep things consistent and updated for everyone involved, both for me, the group, and you, the audience, I will be posting a little game manual in the description below along with this QR code so you can stay updated on the rules, the custom characters joining in with their backstory, etc. Rolling Fates will be streamed every Sunday, for now anyway, at 4 PM PST starting January 4th. Hope to see you there, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when it happens, or join our Discord to keep up with our community. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye, Pia!